Jennifer Kelly's going to be joining me up front. She is the, let me get this right, Global Director for Real Estate and Workplace Services. And she's globally responsible for over 80 wonderful and unique Google workplaces. But let's give a warm round of applause for Jennifer. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So how do I follow laughter yoga? I was lucky enough to be at the back of the room and I joined in. So I am amazing and you're all amazing. And I think that's a great way to start off. So yes, I'm Jen Kelly. I'm Google's Global Director for Real Estate and Workplace Design. Okay, so any of you have seen this movie, The Internship? Hopefully you got a chance to see it. So you probably do wonder what makes our offices googly. So that's one of the terms you'll hear me use quite a bit today. And I guess Hollywood even wanted to have a look at that and capture some of the Google magic. So if you can roll the VT there.
Google. Google. Google.
Google.
Yeah, the place is amazing. They got nap pods, they got massage rooms, they got a volleyball court, they got the whole nine. It's ranked as the greatest place to work at in America.
I want to welcome everybody to the Google generation. Google is a nation.
Google is a nation.
You were probably watching this through my YouTube page on your Chrome, Android, or another Google innovation. More than amazing, we're more than search, more than a website, more than maps or Earth, more than G+, way bigger than Gmail. Bigger than Google Wallet or shopping for retail. We will continue to stay ahead of the curve where technology and intelligence converge.
Computers could talk, right? They can.
Never settle for second, we don't even settle when in first. G-O-O-G-L-E, Plex, the best.
What you're going to need is googliness.
We stop with the googliness. Like, what does that even mean?
Google. Welcome to Google, this is the Googleplex, the home of where the future's kept. Welcome to Google, this is the Googleplex.
Hi, what's the damage here?
Nothing.
What?
Welcome to Google, this is the Googleplex, the home of where the future's kept. So welcome to Google, this is the Googleplex. There's no telling what we're doing next.
Now, I recognize that Google is not a conventional workplace. Having said that, we have rules.
And we do have rules. But simply, our mission in the Real Estate and Workplace Services team is to create amazing workplaces where people can come every day and they can be at their best and they can get the best out of their job and their workplace. And, you know, a lot of work goes into that. There's a lot of philosophy behind it. Why does space matter? So space matters a lot, and if you do get a chance to do the tour this evening, you'll see the spaces that we provide here at CSG for our Googlers. It's really important as this impacts everybody's work experience every day and has a definite positive impact on what they give and what Google gives every day. So our workplace design priorities, firstly, it's about Googler experience. We want people to come to work, we want them to be happy at work. That's hugely important. And we want them to tell other people how great it is a place to work. We want people to have a healthy work environment and to have a sense of well-being, because if people aren't healthy and happy, you know, they're not going to stay at Google and they're not going to be productive. And sustainability is a big part of well-being as well. So taking care of our buildings and the environments and the communities that we build and we work in. So our Googler experience, we want to provide, above all, you come to work to get things done. So it's great to have slides and bouncy balls and volleyball courts and baristas, but also people have to be productive. So workplace has to be functional. We try to create neighbourhoods so that people can work together. They can collaborate and they can have those casual collisions that sometimes get a lot of work done. You know, when you line up at lunchtime in the cafeteria, you meet somebody you haven't seen for a long time, and that's where something happens. And in many cases, something creative and something very magical can happen. We like to provide choice and diversity. So the desk is no longer the place where everything gets done. People need to be able to leave that. They need to have space where they can work together, communicate, chat, have fun, share stories, and have a little bit of that laughter that we just all tried out too. Reduce the friction. So that's about providing places where people can go to find information, to have technical support, whatever that might be, and whatever works best with your work and your culture. And we want to create and evaluate adjacencies. So how many people, when they're planning out space, somebody comes to you and said, I absolutely have to sit beside Mary. She's absolutely integral to what I do every day. And that, in many cases, is the truth. But if you were to do that, you'd have everybody sitting in one big room. So it's really evaluating those needs and the wants. And it's about engaging our users. So what we do when we design new office space and new offices is we engage our workforce. We invite people to come and be part of that. We constantly engage with business leaders to find out what exactly do you want to get from your space? How do you work? What works for you? Because one shoe does not fit all. And it's through those learnings that we can create even more vibrant and productive workplaces. When we built this building, I worked very closely with the project manager. And he said, I want to think of a very creative way to gather ideas, but I don't have time to sit down with everybody in London. So he asked every one person to put one idea on a post-it note and to post them on, we have a double-decker bus in our Belgrave office. And we didn't know would people really do it, but they did. And we took every post-it down and read, and many were iterations of the same thing, great cafe, meeting space. One person had a very creative idea, and that was to have somewhere that they could tie their pony when they came to work. Now, clearly, you've seen the building, there's no ponies coming into the office, but to respect that request, we needed to separate some meeting area, and there is actually a hitching post separating two areas. And on the first day, we invited him to come along, and we said, there's a post. And they couldn't believe it. So it was a dream. It was a quirky option, but we put it in, and it's actually functional. It's separating two meeting areas. So that's the way we like to engage and listen to people. And we design locally. So as you go around Google offices, if you get a chance to visit some in another location, when you go in, it should feel like you're in Google space. But it should also feel like you're in London, Stockholm, Hyderabad, wherever that is. So we engage as much as we can with the local culture, bringing in art and ideas, and also people in the community to help us build that. And above all, have fun. It is important to have those quirky areas that make your office different to any other office. So we talked a little bit about designing to data. It's important to understand what your teams are trying to achieve as you go into designing your workplace, and listen to the focus groups, listen to the feedback, and gather that on a constant basis. Often when we do open a new office and provide a new work environment, you have the day one euphoria, and after 4, 5, 6 weeks, that dies down and some of the flaws might appear, or we need to change and tweak our design. So it's important to have that constant feedback, interviewing stakeholders, and constantly checking in, making sure what we're doing is working, and piloting. So it's as much about how people are using space as how people aren't using space. And if something doesn't work, don't try it again and change it. Adapt that so it is a really productive and usable space for the team. As I mentioned, desk work is no longer lines and lines of desks. With the environment that we're in, we need to provide multifunctional spaces for people. Open spaces work great, semi-open, but if you have heads down time where you really need to focus, we do have to have some closed space too. So it's important to keep all of those at the front of the mind, that one shoe does not fit all. And keep it fun yet functional. So this is actually an indoor bike corridor in our Amsterdam office. So cycling is very big on the agenda there, and a lot of people do take their bike to work, and literally take their bike to work, so that they know it's there and it's right at arm's length when they do need to leave the office. So I have made a note for myself to be cautious when I walk around the Amsterdam office. So we create neighbourhoods. A lot of the research that we have done has shown us that people, when they need to collaborate and work as teams, if you're any further than about 150 feet from the group you work with, it does create a problem with networking and collaboration. So you might as well be in a different building as further away if you're doing teamwork. So we try to create neighbourhoods where teams can work together and continually focus. And a great way of assisting that is to have breakout areas for informal collaboration. So as you can see, this is a small meeting area where people can leave that larger workspace. There's technology there where they can present, and there is whiteboards there that allow for that brainstorming and collaboration time. Magnets near neighbourhood. Now, what's a better magnet than an Irish pub? So this is our Dublin office, and this is actually a micro kitchen, no beers in there, just tea and coffee. But it creates that reason for people to go and get a drink, get a coffee, have that casual collision. And it's space where people can leave their office and they can rejuvenate. So anywhere people can sit down, they can get rehydrated, they can meet others, and get that away time is definitely a plus. Providing choice and diversity is hugely important. We don't all work in this environment, so you've got to have the ability to sit, stand, move around, meeting space, rejuvenation. Here's a couple of examples. So these are our famous egg meeting rooms in Zurich. So they're not a fully enclosed meeting space, but if you need to make a call or take a quick GVC or just want to have a little bit of quieter time, you can work from these areas. They're fitted with phones if people need to use them. And you know, they're in a quiet area of the building, so you're not going to be disturbed. There's no loud fussball or table tennis close by. And this sad little boat was waiting for somebody to rescue it, and we thought we can turn that into some cool seating for a meeting area. And this is an example of where we would provide space without technology, so there's nowhere to connect in. It's for people that want to go away, work together, brainstorming, using writable surfaces. And these areas are always used in our offices as we travel around. Again, examples, that's in our Belgrave office in London, informal meeting space. And these are just a couple of images to give you an idea of the different spaces that we would offer. Quiet work is hugely important, and not just areas where people can actually go to work, but where you can go and just relax and rejuvenate. These areas will be heavily used also, and what's very important is you can provide these spaces, but it's your team and your people that create the culture that goes with them. So if I was to walk into this space and put my headphones on and proceed to have a meeting through my laptop, I'd be very quickly told to go find an enclosed space, because it is through workers, the Googlers' actions, that the real culture of these spaces are created. So Henry set me a task to have a couple of questions that you could work in your group. So the first question I would have is, what is your favourite happy space in your office, and perhaps why? So if you want to work with your groups for about a minute and discuss that, it would be great. Okay guys, I'm going to continue on with our next slides. I think there's a lot of happy spaces in offices by the sounds of things. So I mentioned earlier on, about our involvement of users in our research stage, in our implementation, our build-out stage, but it's important that people go in and they create the culture themselves, and this is just an example. There's so many times, and if there's anyone here from Ruse, I know there's a couple of people, we create this beautiful pristine office and we hand it over and people come in and hang all sorts of stuff up on day one. And it's great because it's their space and it gives them an identity. It is my workplace when I'm here, and as you can see, we've got a lot of flags in this office. But that is important. It's not about creating what Google want, but it's about creating what we know our Googlers and our teams want to have. This is a great example of user engagement and involvement. So we have very large engineering teams, as you can imagine, and in our New York office, we provided this furniture that was quite changeable. It could be taken apart and rebuilt. And we mentioned that when they moved into the space, and of course, within, I think, about an hour of handing over the space, they had completely reconfigured the office. And it wasn't just they reconfigured, it was the stealth and the planning. They got together immediately with whiteboards. They drew out exactly what they wanted and they just changed everything. In hindsight, No, we were in the back telling them exactly how to do it. They were doing it. For those of you who are familiar with engineering, there can be a little bit diversity, all right. So, you know, it was great to see the energy and the excitement that went into the rebuild was amazing. So I think in hindsight, we might get them involved earlier on with the build out of our furniture. And reducing friction, it's providing areas like this is an example of one of our tech stops where you can go to get some technical help, and it just removes that. You're not having all that going on in your workplace. You can get away and get whatever assistance that you need. Designing locally, when we built out our Zurich office, we got to the stage of needing huddle and meeting room space, and you know, budget was getting tighter. So we challenged the team, we'd go out there and try and find a solution that's more economical, where we can have 2 and 4 person meetings. They went to a junkyard basically, and they purchased these gondolas, the old ski gondolas, and we invited the Arts College from Zurich to come in, and we ran a competition where each individual artist designed and painted a gondola, and these are still in place and used very successfully every day for meeting rooms. So it's not about having massive budgets, it's just about finding the most creative people you can to partner with, from architects to project managers to your own internal design teams as well. And this is the sole office, a meeting room that I will always be cautious about, because I don't imagine anybody being very elegant trying to get up from those meeting tables. But this is a very local culture, and people use and enjoy this room every day. And this is in one of our India offices where we have the cricket cage. So we weren't in a position to provide cricket ground outside, so we introduced this concept, and the team absolutely love it. And having fun, I mentioned that a couple of times. This is not only fun, but very functional to get quickly from one floor to the other. We have slides in many of our offices. I'm still traumatized by the first time, because you go down that at a lot of speed, I can tell you. I wasn't quite prepared for that. But it's fun and functional and keeps people moving. It's a climbing wall and a little corner that possibly couldn't be used for something else, but we have a small little golf area there. Health and well-being. So a huge part of being happy at work and being productive at work is having that healthy environment to work in. So allowing for that rejuvenation and relaxation space away from your core workspace, and encouraging movement and healthy eating. So all of our cafes would have a very strong healthy eating guideline, and we provide people with options and then allow them to make choices. So we provide them with nutritional information. And providing ergonomic support obviously is very important. And we have a very large focus on environmental health, and all of our offices are built to a standard where we feel that employees can be healthy and happy, and we don't put anything into that environment that could be harmful in any way with regard to our design. We provide some areas for rejuvenation. This is an area that is at our Zurich office where people can go and enjoy the aquariums and relax, and a very quiet working area as well. Some more rejuvenation spaces. And then there's the obvious ones, the fitness centre, which is just beside us here. I came through and shamefully reminded myself I need to get back in there, but it's important for people to have the option when they are at work to be able to get away and work out in our fitness centres as well. Active design, so it's not all about fitness, they're the very obvious ones, but if people can come into a building and first of all be offered with a stairway, because a lot of people prefer that, they don't like to get in lifts, the lifts are crowded. So where possible, if you can encourage that movement throughout the building and throughout a campus by providing stairs more readily available than lifts, people will actually do that. And making the best of outdoor space, so the natural daylight, the natural air. So keeping it green is always hugely important to us, and we strive to get LEED accreditation for all of our build-outs, and we also subscribe to a healthy material product policy. So basically, if you're buying anything for your office, whether it's a cushion or you're repainting or it's a set of curtains, it's a sofa, and we all in this room will probably be involved in that. If the manufacturer is not prepared to tell you what's in that, there's probably a very good reason why they're not telling you. So we only work with suppliers and retailers that do openly tell you what's in their product, so then you can make sure that there's none of those nasties in there that you don't want in your workplace. And bringing nature in when you can't be. If you're in an urban situation or a central business district, bring whatever nature you can in, if it's a terrace or internal landscaping. That really helps as well. And that can be taken to the extreme. This is the jungle room in one of our offices where people go to rejuvenate, and it is quite nice. Definitely feels like a jungle. I've been in there. It's a little bit warm, but people love it. And healthy materials. So this is a small example of a huddle room this was sourced locally to the office. It's sustainable timber that has been treated with a saline solution to make it pliable so it could be formed into a meeting room. So just a couple of stats that'll I leave you with before we finish up. We have 70 offices in over 40 countries, and we provide over 100,000 massages annually. So that's a lot. We serve 15 million meals, and we have over 300,000 visits to our fitness centres. And so we have, I think, very happy 49,000 plus employees across the world. And transportation. So we create in our buildings, as I mentioned, the stairways that encourage movement around the building, but where we have more than one building, and some are spread out across campuses, we do encourage and provide bikes for people to get around. So it's giving people that opportunity. And you know, here I know you got the city bike, so that's basically what people use in our London offices and our Dublin offices. This is from our Mountain View campus. And those of you who are old enough in the room, and it's not many, I've shown this to a few of my colleagues and said, isn't it like the Triumph 20? And nobody knew what that bike was. So I realised I'm definitely an old generation now. But these are widely used, and it's just creating opportunities for people to make those choices to have a healthier approach as well. So another question I have for you. If there was no limits, what innovation would you come up with, or would you suggest, that would make the workplace an even happier and an even better place? So that's another one to work in your groups with.
Okay, hands up those who are feeling really jealous of Google offices at the moment. Any question? One over there, Marion.
Thanks. Firstly, thank you very much for sharing very sort of openly and generously the sort of, I suppose, what I would have regarded as Google secrets. It's fabulous to see it. And we're a little sort of National Health Service cluster around here, and things obviously are very different for all sorts of reasons in the health service. But what I'm wondering about is how you balance giving staff permission to introduce things, whether it's a sort of ski lift or, or international flags, how you balance that with the whole health and safety stuff, and who approves, does anyone have to approve the flags, and what happens if they fall down and smother someone? We get all this sort of anxiety in our table.
Yep. So I'll have to certainly filter my answer because our Vice President of Safety and Security is in the room. He's just come in. So. But they have my email address. I can email you later on. No, it is important. It's a huge part. You've got to take those things into consideration. And I think that because we have such an open environment where people can come to our team and say, look, I have this crazy idea. And sometimes, as the video said, the answer has to be no, because it's not going to work. And we try things like ski poles or fireman poles, and they're not so successful. They do get people quickly from one floor to the other. Is it the safest way? No, probably not. So it is about, because we're so open, people are more willing to come to us with the idea rather than sneaking the waffle maker into the cafe and setting, fire alarms off. So it has to come into consideration, but if you create that open, we're willing to listen. We're willing to listen to your idea, and if we can make it work, we can, and if we can't, here's why. So we try not to be no straight away, and we like the somewhere to tie your pony. Why would we use that? But we were able to integrate it, and it was a bit of fun, and people saw that their ideas were taken into consideration. But it's got to be that open dialogue, and if the answer is no, people are not going to approach you, and they are going to come around the back and try and sneak them in. Now, ski lifts are hard to sneak in, all right. But Marty, I'd say, could tell you about a few people trying wild and wonderful things in the offices.
Okay.
No problem.
One more, then we'll go on.
Okay.
And I would have actually brought my pony today. You may not be able to answer this, but I'm interested in the sickness absence rates, all the investment that you actually put in. How do your sickness absence rates compare with maybe other industries that don't engage with this, but of a similar nature?
I think that's probably something that Yvonne will cover later on in her presentation. There you go. Honestly, I'm not the right person to answer that question, but I do think that I lead a team, so I would be very clued into how many people are in and out of work, and it's not like anywhere else I've ever worked before that you just don't see a lot of it, but Yvonne will be able to give you probably a better gauge on that.
Yeah, because I'm guessing the demographic of your workforce is relatively young, and I work with quite a number of industries where there is an ageing workforce with sort of quite high levels.
We're getting older. It's Triumph 20. But I can tell you one thing that might throw a bit of light on it. If I need to work from home, I have that availability. So, Sky are coming out, there's a problem with my TV, and I work from home. And at about 11:30, when it's approaching lunchtime, I'm always really disappointed that I worked from home, because I open the fridge and there's nothing, or there's nothing healthy. And I'm sad having a packet of crisps when I know I could be having, a lot of a big healthy option at Google. So it's definitely somewhere people want to be and want to work.
Final question.
I'd love to know your answer to that question.
Ooh, so yeah, there are no limits when I'm asked to think of things. It's like, really do think out of the box. We come up with new and important ideas every year that change the way we deliver space. I think people now are very focused on that whole health and well-being. I think some of the services and the perks and the benefits that Yvonne will talk about later are certainly very new and innovative, and it's almost like everything is there. There's no friction. So for me, it's to continue on that side of things, keeping health. How can we help people to take that home with them also? So how do we equip people that currently maybe don't cook and haven't got time, and because we all have those excuses, I don't have time, I'll just grab something, I'll call it for a pizza. How do we equip people to know how to cook? We've started cooking classes in some of our offices, and the uptake is amazing. So I really do think it's around that, because our demographic is changing. And people are having children, have families, and they want to be able to bring that happiness and I guess that well-being home too. So for me, it's to continue focus in those areas.
Thank you very much.